Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jack and Joe Show. And welcome to those of us joining us, not for the first time, not for the second time. We are back on the podcast feed, which is becoming a lovely little international break sort of recurring theme, which we're loving, Jack. But to those of you joining us on YouTube, welcome back. It's the first time we're speaking since, on here, since deadline day, in real life, since Ipswich. Jack, how do you plan on filling these 2 weeks?
Well, daily Fulham content on the Patreon. I'm about to film a very exciting video just after we film this about my 10 favourite Fulham shirts. I'm going through my extensive collection and breaking it down and sort of talking about memories that relate to that shirt for myself, and then obviously memories on the pitch as well for everyone else. So just because it's the international break does not mean that the Fulham train stops. In fact, it's full speed ahead. So very excited for. I've just had a great week making content, and I shouldn't really sit here and plug it, but it is a really good place to get all your niche Fulham content, plus obviously match day and press conference coverage as well that you won't see anywhere else in terms of the way that I publish it. So £5 a month if you fancy it, where all the links are. And Joe, let's talk Fulham during an international break. I hate the September international break. I
hate all international breaks so much. I hate them all so much. Yes, I'm fully locked in when it's England in a tournament. I'm not going to pretend. I'm going to sit here and pretend that I deserve England tickets. I don't apply for them. I don't want them. I like England. I love Fulham. That's how it is for me. Obviously, more than like England. That's an under exaggeration. But my point here is, this international break has come at a good time for Fulham, in my opinion. Not a good time for fans because you get back into the swing of things. You go into games, you're loving it, and then suddenly to a halt for a couple of weeks. It will be over in a flash, we hope. We drew with Ipswich, Jack, which made it 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat from our 3 Premier League games. Obviously got through in the Carabao Cup as well, and we now know that we'll be playing Preston away in the next round, just after we play West Ham. So I suppose my point here is, where do you think Marco Silva is right now in terms of his feeling about the squad, his feeling about the start? Because my perspective is we've been fine. I don't think we've been amazing in any of the games. I think we've been reasonably solid, and it's been a more competitive start than we had last season, even though, ironically, we've got the exact same 3 results in terms of 1 loss, 1 defeat, 1 draw. Obviously, last time it was a smash and grab at Everton. It was a horrendous defeat at home to Brentford in an awful day. And then that really weird game at the Emirates where, even though it was a little bit of a smash and grab, I think it was a deserved one from us to get that draw. So that's where we sit.
On 4 points.
We're on 4 points, same as last
4 points last season. Okay, that makes you feel better.
The only difference between last season is we had 4 games before the international break, because we had that City away game where we got tonked, but they had like 5 shots on target. They scored 5 goals. That's just what they do. And obviously the offside drama just before half-time. Long-winded way of saying, Jack, I think it's been not the most eye-catching start. We've probably flown a little bit under the radar, which I'm not against. Had a few bedding in issues of new tactics we're trying, such as replacing Polina and what our midfield 3 is. Not looking the most exciting going forward. Muniz hasn't got a goal yet in his first 3. It's nothing to be overly concerned about, but we didn't sign a new striker. Vinicius hasn't left the club at the time of filming, whereas Stansfield has. Is that one or the other? Or is that what the situation was? I'm not sure. Where is your head at in terms of Fulham compared to where you would have wanted us to be at this exact stage in terms of squad and in terms of start to the season?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think before the season started, we spoke about these opening 3 games, and we said we wanted, and we thought we could get 7 points. Manchester United were not in a position that any of us were really fearing. Just so happened they got the win just because maybe we didn't take our chances, and they got a late winner. Hey, it happens. The win against Leicester, pretty comfortable, and actually, despite Leicester scoring, once we took the lead. I didn't feel like they were going to equalise, and I thought we were the better team and deserved the win. Very solid, and that's sort of, I think that's my conclusion. I'll come to the conclusion in a second. The Ipswich game was much tougher than I was expecting. A tough game, but just in that 90 minutes, it was genuinely quite a difficult situation and game to be a part of and watch. Ipswich made it really tricky in the final 5 minutes of added time. It was them that were looking the more likely to score the winner. Fulham looked okay, but I feel like we were a little bit shell-shocked by early events. Maybe the goal in the 15th minute took us by surprise a little bit. It was a speculative effort, and it ended up in the top corner, albeit a very, very good goal from Liam Delap, which has been nominated for Premier League Goal of the Month. I just thought Ipswich were insanely impressive. If they play like that for the rest of the season, especially at home, they'll get points, and I actually would back them to finish above the bottom three. Definitely really like their team. And just, it's 2 away games this season where, and I suppose I say it every year, I'm just glad it's all over. We'd have to do that again for a while. I'm glad that those are 2 out the way. However, there are some pressing issues we need to talk about with Fulham here. I have a real selection headache in my head about the state of the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a good thing. There's good squad depth here. There's good options, but because Fulham are so neat and tidy and wonderful on the training ground, we don't seem to, touch wood, get any injuries. We don't get injuries very often. Okay, it can happen. It probably will happen at some point this season. I'm not denying that. It makes for an issue where I'm starting to look at the bench and wondering who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. Now, it's worth noting that last season, when we were fully fit, we had 3 players, usually first-team players, missed out completely of the squad because they don't fit in because we'd had too many players, which is obviously a good thing. It speaks to our squad depth. So notably missing from the bench against Ipswich was Sessegnon and Josh King, obviously Vinicius as well, and we'll talk about Vinicius a bit later, and obviously Reiss Nelson, who had just signed. So, because of the lack of attacking options we had on the bench against Ipswich, only being Jimenez and Wilson, you would imagine that Reiss Nelson obviously will come onto the bench and play a part. So, who drops out? Who drops out of the bench out of Sanderberg? Don't think so. He's just a new signing. Obviously, Jimenez, we need him. Harrison Reed, Tom Kearney, Harry Wilson, Stephen Bender has to be there. He's a keeper. Joachim Anderson, Jorge Cuenca, and Timothy Castagna. Now, I spoke about this yesterday, and I came to the conclusion, my personal opinion, it has to be due to form and due to the way the squad will look, it has to be Tom Kearney, and I don't like saying that at all. It has to be Kearney for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tricky because when you factor in Nelson coming in, that's 4 centre-backs in the squad. You would probably say that 1 should go. I don't think you need 2 on the bench, but then...
That's also, yeah.
But who? Because, if Bassi got injured during the game, you don't want a right-sided centre-back covering that position. The only problem with dropping Kearney would be that he is someone that is meant to be there to take control of the game if we're trying to take the lead, for example. But what I would counter that with is, I would say his 4 appearances this season, he hasn't impressed me at all, which has been quite sad to see. So in answer to your question, Jack, I think it depends on the opposition. A centre-back and Kearney are the ones that are at risk. Potentially Harrison Reed. So basically a centre-back and a midfielder, because you can't take off Wilson or Jimenez. We don't have any other attacking options bar Nelson, and even then it's only 3. You imagine that Sanderberger will force his way into the starting 11. That means someone will drop to the bench, and I can't see them being cut from the squad.
And if it's Pereira, then that's obviously another attacking option from the bench as well. So it's a positive in that sense.
Yeah.
This sounds insanely Keanu Harsh-Brown, but is there a point to be made that it does seem inevitable Joachim Anderson will come into the starting 11 at some point? It's basically just put him in against West Ham. We'll see how he goes, because that genuinely should be the partnership going forward. No disrespect to Issa Diop. I didn't think Diop did particularly that well against Ipswich. compared to his previous 2 games. But I don't like thinking of a situation where Diop's suddenly in the starting 11 and then he's dropped off the bench completely and Cuenca takes up the bench position. But Diop also, in those games where we were fully fit last season, Diop was not making the bench in some appearances.
Yeah, I don't think... So, for example, the 2 that weren't there on Saturday, so I imagine that'll be the case for most games for Josh King, just due to the options ahead of him, as opposed
and the under-21s playing on Friday nights. So
so he can get more football playing for the under-21s throughout the season, and there's going to be plenty more Friday night games or even Thursday games where he's then not ready to be involved. I hope that he gets a decent amount of action in the Cups. Another good chance for him against Preston. Sessegnon, just based on Silva so far, obviously managing workload, but also preference, I don't think he'll make a lot of matchday squads this season in the Premier League, which is sad to see. But equally, if there's injuries, he comes back in. It's another good option to have, just based on the fact that we have left wingers that are ahead of him in the pecking order coming off the bench. And we also have a left back ahead of him in the pecking order because Castagne can play right back or left back on the bench. Yeah. And ultimately, it makes far more sense to just have Castagne on there covering both positions than it does to fill it with another, let's face it, defensive player. Even though we've all banged the drum for years that Sessegnon is not a left back, that is his role in this squad. That is his role. He's not been brought in as a left winger, it seems.
Would be funny if he was a left winger. Then it'd be another attacking option on the bench. It would just be fun. I would love to see a situation, even against Preston North End, where he starts as a left winger and we play Castagne left back and Tete right back. I mean, I don't think it will happen, but if I was a manager for a day, that's what I would do. Just a bit of fun.
And I agree with you, Jack. I don't think it would be fair to drop Issa Diop from the squad. I really don't. I think that Issa Diop in general... Well, I still would say the Ipswich game, actually, not just in general. In the Ipswich game as well, I still think he was better than Bassi on the day, is my personal opinion. I thought that Bassi was far less shaky in both games than he was against United. I think he's improved in all 3, but I think that Diop's just been steady Eddie, been good, didn't really put a foot wrong. My qualm with Diop is that in the build-up, he doesn't really help. And it's so important for the way we play that Anderson has to come in. And Anderson is going to come in on that right-hand side. We saw it against Birmingham after a few training sessions. The impact he can make on the ball. It's great that we've got him back. But I agree with you. I don't think it would be fair to drop Diop from the squad completely. Would it be fair to drop Cuenca? I mean, he's been a new signing brought in.
I think we've got to keep Cuenca. I think genuinely Marco's so excited about this player and the way he played against Birmingham, I was very excited about it as well. I genuinely think by the end of the season, we're going to see 5+ games in the Premier League of a starting back 2 or the starting set of backs as Cuenca and Anderson.
I'd be excited to see it because I liked what I saw from both of them against Birmingham, and albeit it was lower league opposition, the time they had on the ball to pick out passes, you might not get in the Premier League, but you back them both. Cuenca had a great game against Sevilla in the pre-season friendly, where his wonderful through ball basically set up Smith Rowe's goal, or at least started the move for it. So long-winded discussion. I agree with you, Jack. I think that it would be Tom Cairney to go on the bench purely because I'm imagining Sander Berge coming into this team, and I'm therefore imagining that a player is going to drop to the bench, whether that is Pereira, whether that is Iwobi, whoever it may be. They're probably going to be the attacking style player, the attacking midfielder. Could it be Smith Rowe with fitness? I hope not, but it could be.
I hope not.
I really hope not, by the way. I would be fuming if that happened. I think based on performances, it should be Pereira and then Iwobi. I haven't been too impressed with Iwobi. My point being, you have a player to bring off the bench in the central attacking midfield position that isn't Tom Cairney. Therefore, is he required on the bench? Because you're not going to need to bring on 2 of those.
I'd argue that against Ipswich, Bassi did struggle with their press.
Yeah,
him and Robinson, especially early days, I was very nervous. But Bassi's actually he doesn't make me nervous on the ball. Diop makes me nervous on the ball.
Yeah.
Bassi maybe at times has an odd moment. Every centre-back. If you're getting pressed, if you're a centre-back and you're getting pressed basically every game by Premier League footballers, you're not going to 100% pass rate, 100%
Yeah, you're going to drop a clanger or two.
Exactly. We need to talk about Andreas Pereira.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like, when you come into an international break and there's always like a big question the fan base has got to face over the next couple of weeks, and they'll spend the next 2 weeks because there's nothing else to talk about, talking about this issue. And the issue is with Andreas Pereira. Now, have I been blown away by his 3 performances this season? No. Off the ball, has he been good? Yes. Does he work in the number 8 with Smith Rowe? I'd say maybe a little bit, but not as effective as I'd have thought.
I just don't think he's done in that position. You're meant to be offering help up front and defensive work rate. And whilst I agree with you, he works hard off the ball, which is something we both said for a while, and is basically now just a common opinion shared by Fulham fans. We know he works hard. That's why Marco really loves him in the team and trusts him. You've got to take a yellow card for the team, and then we don't concede that goal, for one. He gave it away. He's tracking back. He can see he's going to get a shot away. If you can't block the shot, he's in a great position. I think he needs to take the foul there, to be completely honest. And then just in terms of his actual attacking displays, I'm seeing a lot of these key passes, great. None of them have really led to much. Not all his fault, admittedly. There's been a few situations he's put us in a good attacking position, and the final ball from someone else or the finish has not been there. I get it. But I can't think of a moment against, in any of the 3 games that we've played in the Premier League, where Pereira has been the one to completely unlock a defence like we've seen previously, or when one of his set pieces has been a fantastic delivery. The only one that was getting that way was the one which Tete headed over against Leicester at the start of the second half, where it was a near post delivery, like he's been doing a few times. But my problem with him is the majority of the time it's been landing on the opposition player's head.
I would argue that his corners against United, when he had about 3 or 4 in the space of nearly 10 minutes, were very dangerous. Obviously, didn't lead to anything, but
they were
those
dangerous.
pieces are good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I suppose my point there is they're dangerous. So were Adama Traore's runs. So were a few of Iwobi's passes, and ultimately they just didn't get us anywhere.
It's true. It's a great point.
And I do think that there are other players that could produce set pieces within our team. And I've banged the drum for a long time that I like Pereira because of his set pieces, and I maintain that it's a crucial deliverer of goals for our team. But when you take that away, he does so little in open play that it is kind of hard to defend him because, yes, he works hard. So do most players in our team, and so do most players that are banging on the door on the bench. I think that at the moment, an easier way to get more out of our team would be to drop Pereira and play someone that's more natural in the 8. But I did see a very interesting point, Jack, before we come on to you, was a great thread by Cottage Analytic on Twitter following the Ipswich game, where they were basically speaking about why we're having issues with build-up, and is Marcus Silva trying to basically negate that by putting Andreas Pereira a little bit deeper, who is one of our better players on the ball on paper, to basically be involved a little bit earlier, so you can get the ball to someone that's better on the ball, as opposed to, let's say, a Harrison Reed in that position, for example, maybe not quite as good on the ball, to pull us forward a bit earlier. So Diop struggles, get it to Pereira on the halfway line rather than just outside the D, for example. And I understand that, I get that, but I think that it's not his position. I think he seems unnatural there. I think that he drifts too far forward and leaves us very, very vulnerable in transition, which was shown by the Ipswich goal and several Man United counter-attacks and a couple of Leicester counter-attacks in the second game as well. I think this is the time to try something new. Try Lukic, who was fantastic. Again, my man of the match, in my opinion.
He's great, yeah.
Berger next to him, Smith Rowe in the 10. I think that's what we should try for the next game. And if it doesn't work, we can try something else. We have time to try things, and we can try it in a cup game as well. But I think that it would be a shame not to try Lukic and Berger essentially next to each other with Smith Rowe ahead of them.
For the fans, it feels like that's the inevitable next move, right? It feels like it's going to be Berger, Lukic, Smith Rowe. but we're discounting the fact that Marco Silva is incredibly loyal to Andres Pereira. I don't necessarily know why. I know why because of what he brings on and off the ball. That's fine. But even when he drops a performance that doesn't inspire at all, he doesn't get dropped from the team. Is it because it's just a case of, well, he's bound to produce something at some point because he's Andres Pereira? I just think it's a case of, if he is producing performances that are below par, arguably 3 games in a row, that surely speaks to, or surely we come to a conclusion where it's like, okay, well, you haven't performed. Like any manager would do this. Any manager would do this. You haven't performed for 3 games in a row, therefore we're going to replace you, and then you have to work your way back in the team. But it does seem like Marco Silva, like with any other player, if they dropped a clanger, they would come out of the team and they'd have to work it back. But it does seem like with Andres Pereira, that's not the case. And this is not me having a go at Marco Silva. I respect the man more than members of my family, like honestly. But I just don't know. I just don't know whether I don't know whether it's going to cost us to keep on playing with not a natural 8, even though Silva may say that he naturally can play as an 8. And then when it comes to set pieces, if Pereira's not on the pitch, I'd put Smith Rowe on corners. I'd put Smith Rowe on free kicks. I bet he's got an absolute wand. Well, we know he's got a wand. Even if there was a situation where the game is late, Tom Kearney's on the pitch and we've got a free kick from 25 yards, TC on his left foot, por favor. Like, honestly, that would be fantastic. It's an interesting debate. It's not one that we're going to sort of sit here and solve right now, but it's going to be very interesting to see Joe on Friday, when he speaks to the media, and then obviously when we see the team against West Ham on Saturday, whether Pereira has been dropped. What would be your reaction if he's not been dropped?
If he's not been dropped, then there's a couple of things, almost reasons that I could think of why. The first one is that I don't think Harrison Reed or Tom Kearney would come in for him. And the second one is that the obvious choice would be Berger, but he's been on international duty, which means that even after his debut against Birmingham, obviously with different midfield partners, and obviously then the sub-appearance against Ipswich, maybe Silva still feels he's not in a position to start in the league. He'd probably start against Preston. Those are potential things I could see happening. I also think that Pereira every now and again does pull a blinder. I think that the 2 games last season, one of them was West Ham, where it was Forest and West Ham at home, won both 5-0. He was great in both. So,
and the away game,
yeah, obviously got the brace. He can turn it on. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't dropped. What I don't want to happen, because it's very obvious that Silva's sort of point of view is that Berger is the Polina replacement. That's what he's been brought in for. I'm very much hoping that Lukic doesn't get dropped, and I think it would be shocking if he did. I don't think it will happen.
Oh yeah.
I am almost expecting Lukic to be dropped before Pereira is, just based on how Marcus Silva sees both players. I really hope I'm wrong. I'll tell you what, I mean, let's face it, Pereira's not the only one that hasn't performed in these first 3 games. I think that Bassi's been not his usual self, although improving every game. I think that Muniz has not been quite as electric as during that patch last season, although his hold-up play has still been really good. He's not had too many clear-cut chances. I would say he'll be disappointed he didn't score against Leicester and against Ipswich, from those 2 headers in particular, both at the end of the first half. But I think the goal will come if he keeps getting in these positions. I haven't been too impressed with Iwobi. I think I've made that very clear, to be honest, in these videos. I thought he was poor against United. I thought he was okay against Leicester and obviously got a goal, and fantastic. You know, his work for the goal was brilliant to put in the sprint, and then a little bit lucky with the finish, but you know what? It's a goal. I don't care. Again, very underwhelming, in my opinion, against Ipswich. So I just basically want to say, we're not just digging out Pereira. That's just been the main debate. There's a few players that could be dropped. You know, you could have Smith Rowe on the left and move Iwobi centrally. You could drop Iwobi and move Pereira back up the pitch. There's several solutions here.
I want Iwobi central. If I was getting on an underground line with Iwobi, I'd want it to be the central line. Get him central.
That is too hot, by the way.
It's way too hot.
Way too hot.
Don't get on the central line.
I got it just before Ipswich on Saturday, and I basically entered the train, well, with you, Jack, just flooding with sweat. It was terrible. Awful.
What do you get when you add the central line and Victoria line? It is literally the gates of hell. Anyway, a few things I just want to address, and there's 3 more topics I want to touch on, but I know we're tight for time, so it's going to be very quick. First of all, Iwobi central. You know, Iwobi, like, he often starts on the left, but then can drift centrally in a game. And actually, when that happens, I think he's far better running down the middle than on the wing. He's such an unorthodox sort of runner. I think he's a strong runner of the ball, but only when he's going down the middle. If he's going down the wing, I feel like he's not going to make any progress. That run he made for the goal against Leicester, it felt like he was running for an age before he shot. I love Iwobi. He gave me a great interview in the summer. He was fantastic. He's a lovely person. And I really like the addition of Iwobi in our team. I think he's transformed the team fantastically. However, if you had... This is the thing, like, you can have Iwobi on the left and Smith Rowe in the 10, but if they just interchanged a little bit and had Smith Rowe running down the left and had Iwobi just tracking back a little bit and then him playing as like the number 8, I'm so happy with that. Or, sorry, as the number 10, if Pereira was there or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway... Also, wrap Lukic up in cotton wool while he plays out for Serbia. I know they're playing tonight against Spain, I think. I'm going to have to keep across that one. We're recording today on the Thursday. And, okay, 3 more things. First of all, hello, Reiss Nelson. What are you going to bring to this Fulham team? A lot of Hale End players in our squad now, and I love it. I think Nelson spoke very well in his club interview. I know you tweeted about it, but I also agreed with the point that just came across great, and I was like, get him on the pitch. I'm all for it.
You know, you could get nervous. It's like last minute loan deal. There's been rumours elsewhere. Is he committed? It seemed like he was so excited about the project. It seemed like he was obviously delighted that he knows quite a few of the players, obviously the Arsenal guys, but also Sessegnon from his England days. Yeah, neighbours.
That was sick.
I think he gave him a lift in. He said, which is fantastic. Excited for Nelson. I feel like the West Ham game might come too early for him to start, but I'd hope that he'd start against Preston and have some involvement in the Premier League games from now. And just another great option to have, because Traore's had a great start to the season. Iwobi, I've not been, as I've just said, too impressed with, but he has got a goal. And then you've got Wilson coming off the bench, he hasn't had too much time to make an impact, but he's been pretty ineffectual in all 3 games so far and didn't set the world alight against Birmingham. So another player as competition there is wonderful news.
Wilson usually sparkles for Wales. Sparkles like it's bonfire night and you've got a little sparkle in your hand. I would really want him to have 2 very, very, very good performances for Wales. He comes back full of confidence. I know there's a player, Ed Wilson, and I've been frustrated so far that we haven't seen... Obviously, since he's been at Fulham, he's been brilliant. But this season, I've been very frustrated that he just hasn't quite got up to his level. And, you know, that goal he scored last day of the season against Luton, what a goal. Yeah. By the way, what a goal against Ipswich as well. Team move, beautiful. Yeah. On our day, we play some insane football. We play such nice football, out for the back, scoring goals. That goal against Ipswich reminds me of 2 others. Southampton away, first season. I know it was a bit of a lucky, the way Harrison Reed managed to get that to Vinicius, but great goal. The team goal, the 4th goal against Luton on the last day, perfect goal, brilliant. Finished off by Wilson and that goal against Ipswich. Very, again, just examples of how well Fulham can play. Even the goal against Leicester, the first goal, really well made as well. We are a seriously good football team on our day, and I just hope Wilson comes back with a little bit more confidence and because, you know, I've seen I've seen some stuff on Twitter the last couple of days. Are Wilson's days numbered as a Fulham player? No, because he's one of few attacking options we have on the bench at the moment. So we have to value him and we have to use him. And in order for him to be used, he's going to have to be, you know, on the top of his game, and hopefully he just get that form back up. Vinicius wasn't sold. Stansfield was. Fulham have 3 strikers now on the books. Is that enough? It does feel like I said it at the end of our deadline day stream, actually. that January we're going to have to go after a striker for sure.
Yeah, 3 is enough. It's just the 3 are not good enough. I think is the problem is that I don't think that Jimenez, for the job he's going to do this season, is essentially going to be coming off the bench either when Muniz is tired or injured or we're chasing a goal. And he's not got the pace to do that in behind. No. And I don't think he's better in the air than Muniz. And I don't think he's confident enough at this moment in time to score enough goals for us. I thought that he did quite well with that chance he had at Ipswich. It was never going in from that angle, but he was taken quite wide to get a shot away. Credit to him, but he wouldn't strike fear into me if I was a defender. And Vinicius would, but in a different way of just grievous bodily harm as opposed to anything football related. I just can't see him being involved after everything Silva's said about this is our squad, etc. He hasn't got a squad number. This is the problem with selling Stanfield so late, even though the sale, and it came out after our stream, the fee's ridiculous. We had to do it. It was a great deal for Fulham. And he wanted to go, but can we explore the free agent market? Is there anyone there? You never know. I just feel that another striker would really, really help us out because at the moment we've basically got 2 players. We've got Muniz and then we've got the older version of Muniz, which is Jimenez, because I feel that they both offer quite similar things right now, and that is crosses into the box, trying their best to hold it up, and Muniz is doing a better job. And Muniz should keep his place, but he needs to score soon, because I don't particularly want to see Raul start, being honest.
Yeah, even Raul will start at Preston, and I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's the fact that Stansford offered something else. I know he's not the profile of striker that necessarily works with a Silva team, but then he offers something else when defenders are tiring. You bring on Stansfield to run at run at the defence, and then things might happen. It's a shame, but bloody hell, £20 million. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Finally, it's also worth noting that we are a fan base who often makes and comes up with scapegoats, and I don't want people to watch this and listen to this and think that Pereira is a scapegoat. He's not. Absolutely not. Maybe other fans online maybe have gone a bit harder on Pereira. We actually are quite open to have a discussion about Pereira's role in this team, and do we think it's better for the team that he comes out of it? We're not basically going, Pereira's shit, never want to see him in a Fulham shirt again. It's nothing like that. We're not here to scapegoat players. We're here to just want the best for the team. So finally, Marco Silva turned down Benfica.
Yeah, thank God.
But then Benfica couldn't really afford Marco as well, so it's a bit of a non-event, or maybe it is a bit of an event.
I think it's a bit of an event just because Champions League club back home in Portugal would have surely been quite appealing, but he wants to stay in the Premier League. We're very lucky that he wants to stay. I think my concern would be if a Premier League team came calling. Obviously, apparently interviewed with United this summer.
He denied it.
Put it this way. Did he deny it? Interesting.
In an embargoed section, he denied it.
Interesting. Well, what I would say is United would be doing a lot better if they had him as their manager this season. So I'm nervous that someone might come in at some stage, and then I'd be worried. But until then, he's got a big release clause. He showed his loyalty to us. Forget about what happened before, because what he's shown to us, he's rejected Saudi offers twice. Let's just say the United thing's true, just for the sake of this argument. He's maybe spoken to them and that's it. He's played down interest from West Ham before, which is always one that I was a bit worried about because I thought it suited him quite well. Let's just hope, because now Benfica have come calling as well, that is the end of interest for a while, but you can see why they're interested.
If anyone watched our pre-season prediction video, I spoke about how Man United, there's this narrative that's always going to creep up and always going to happen, and it just basically happened on Sunday. I found that really funny. It was just the same thing. Same thing over and over again.
It's so predictable.
I know. But it's even though I said it was boring, even though I said I hate it, I just found it quite entertaining at the same time as well. And that's maybe why. Joe, let's call it a day there. I think we touched on some key topics. I do want to just, again, double down on we don't hate Pereira. We just want what's best for the team. We really do.
And right now, let us know what you think. Do you think dropping him could be best? If not, what is your solution? Because I think right now the midfield's the problem. How do you fix it?
I did a 45-minute video on Andres Pereira for my Patreon this week, and someone did reply saying that they thought that Pereira and Smith Rowe work quite well. So, I mean, it's open to interpretation. It's open to people's opinion, and that's why we love football. Everyone's got an opinion. It just so happens that we mostly, Joe, we agree on a lot of things, to be fair, which is good. I remember the one thing we really disagreed on was the Mitrovic stance when he partied in lockdown.
Yeah,
was that big?
Yeah, and if I'd have got my way, he never would have gone to Saudi. He also wouldn't have fired us back up for promotion, but let's ignore that bit.
My brother is wearing an Al Halal shirt today with Mitrovic on the back. My head is hot. It was actually a punishment. We bought it as a gimme birthday present for him. But which, by the way, Joe, happy birthday for yesterday. Hope you had a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we bought it. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear. We bought it for him, and the basically our fantasy football fan tracks league where we have the loser, who by the way was me, had to wear the Mitrovic shirt for the first home game of the season, but because I was in the press box, one, that was just not going to happen. Two, there's not really a second actually point to that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Joe Sanson, thanks so much for being here.
Cheers, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Catch you next week when we preview the West Ham game.
Yes. Now, will it be Fulham 5, West Ham 0? Probably not. But then again, would be very funny if it was. Thank you so much for listening, watching, subscribing, not subscribing. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. And come on, Fulham.